welcome everyone. This is a School District of Prescott Board of Education regular meeting. We've been in closed session since 5:30 and we are on item number 6, adopt agenda. Rick, is there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes from administration.
All right, so we'll need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Item 7, Pledge of Allegiance. Rick, would you care to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next item is recognition of visitors. Rules for public comment are as follows. Please approach the podium one at a time, stating your name, municipality, and topic you would like to address. Allotted time is 3 minutes per individual, or 6 if you're representing a group that is present at the meeting. All comments should be directed to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will not act on any comments that are made during the meeting, and the presiding officer may direct the district administrator to follow up with that individual at a later date. And the public comment section will be limited to 30 minutes unless board action is taken to extend the full policy. Please refer to our public comment policy listed on the agenda. Anybody at this time care to be recognized? Nope. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you. Good news.
We're going to start with Matt Smith, our activities director. We just finished our spring sports activities, and we have amazing stories to tell. We'll put some of the things up on the projector, and we'll have students coming up and coaches. Mr. Smith.
Well, thanks for having us. Appreciate it. A couple of the coaches couldn't make it here tonight, so I'll be representing them. Just kind of talking through some recaps, some celebrations as we talked about. We're going to start off with an announcement here. As we talked about prior, our one-act play, A Murder of Crows, is bound for nationals this upcoming week in Indianapolis, so they're fired up, they're ready to go. They'll be leaving early Sunday morning. They will be performing up here at Performing Arts Center Saturday night at 7 o'clock, so if anyone wants to see a fantastic cast, just an incredible show one more time before they hit the road, stop on by. They're led by Thomas Feltz and Brittany Camrath. They're just extremely proud of them, and a great opportunity for them to showcase what they have at the national level. So, as I said, just thrilled for them in this opportunity. So Saturday night, if you're around 7 o'clock, come check it out. Then I wanted to go to a huge thank you. Our PFA group, Prescott Fast Pitch Association, their work they've had on Borner Fields, if you've driven past there recently, Kellen Swanson's out there working on the dugouts, getting new covers on them. They're then going to go to the north field and do a similar approach. They're going to add some concrete and whatnot to that, lengthen those out. They're paying for that out of their own pocket. Just a true donation from a great group representing the community. Obviously, really supportive of softball and the youth in general. They, our class there with Mr. Schmidt, led by him, they started that shed up there, and now Kellen's finishing that off. So just a huge shout out to them. Kudos for their support. Really, truly, we talk about Prescott being a great place, the community-wise, is people like that, PFA and that group, and all the support that they have. So just a shout out to them for that work and their continued support there. Some spring season celebrations to go over. We're going to start with softball. Coach Johnson, he's at his son's Beckett's baseball game tonight. And just some notes on the year that we wanted to share with them. Overall, 21-7 for their record. Second place in conference. Some cool celebrations. Coach Johnson got his 100th career win. I think it was like his 102nd game, maybe. He only coached, I think, only 2 losses total. Maybe give or take a little bit. But unbelievable for him. And he'd be the first to tell you it has nothing to do with him. It's a great staff, great group of kids. They secured the program's 7th straight regional championship this year. And overall, just played a very challenging schedule. Their non-conference opponents' winning percentage was basically 70%. So the non-cons that they're playing, already in a tough middle border conference, their schedule is unbelievable. Won their last 6 games going into playoffs, just kind of were hitting their strides, and then ran into Fall Creek, who would go on to be the state runner-up, and just kind of wasn't our day. But that game could have went either way there. 6 seniors graduating. They left a tremendous legacy on the program. And as Coach Johnson wrote here, they'll be missed tremendously. 5 all-conference players overall, led by Leah French. She was the co-player of the year for the middle border. And then Rory Zulsdorf and Talia Roth joined her on first team. And then on second team, we had Kelsey Sterrud, and Caden Hillenbrandt was honorable mention. So a softball season, outstanding year overall for everyone involved with that. Now on to baseball. Coach Ryan, he's down at the state tournament, so he gave me some stuff here. Another 21-win team. They were 21-5 overall for the year. Outright conference champs. That was the first time since 2012, the state championship team, that we won one outright. We shared it in 2017. Regional champs. That was the first time in a while. Huge comeback win over Altoona there in the regional final, down 2 runs going into the 7th. For anyone that saw that, just an outstanding day to be a Cardinal there. And very similar to softball, just a really tough schedule. You look at the non-conference games, we beat a couple conference champs in Elk Mound and Fall Creek, and then a lot of the other teams that we played are taking second in their league. They're 15-win teams. Just a very tough schedule overall. They had a great experience with the Field of Dreams trip. And just a really exciting opportunity for everyone to be involved with that, to go down there and then play the doubleheader with Platteville after, get both those games. Huge senior roster, 9 seniors on the team. The impact that they had on the program, obviously their success speaks for itself. Just great people overall. Another conference player of the year we had. So Dane Pahachik was conference player of the year. That's 2 years in a row. Prescott's had that. Cullen Hooper was last year. And then first team also was Barrett Temmers and Cole Platson, both seniors. And then second team representation, we had Aiden Duro and Max Monteith. And then also, very fittingly, Coach Ryan was named the Middle Border Coach of the Year. So those 2 programs obviously doing things the right way. Not only are they winning games, but their high character, their true integrity, and a lot of it comes from that leadership with our coaches, our staffs, and then our kids all the way down. So now, enough about me and everyone else. We're going to have Coach Hamilton come up. He's going to speak about historic boys golf season. And then we'll follow that up with our track and field program to share some of their highlights involving some gold medals this year. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk about golf a little bit here. We started our season kind of at the end of last year when we missed state, going to state by 1 stroke. The boys really put a lot of work in. They put those goals out. We're going to get there this year. But they also wanted to, because our banner up there for boys is Little Bear, so they said we want to put some numbers up there. That was kind of their main focus of this year. And that's what they did. So we ended up, overall we started off a little shaky because we had some missing. We had a couple injuries, a couple sicknesses, and a few other things went on. But after that, we kind of got rolling. We had a really good, strong schedule. Went down to Milwaukee to play in the MAC Fund Tournament, which is to raise funds for childhood cancer, which is a really good cause to do that as well. We get to golf Lac La Belle, which is one of the top, I'd say, 10 courses in the state. Kind of just to get some experience of that type of a thing. Played Troy Byrne and St. Croix National in the border battle. And then just our conference tournaments and everything else. And I ended up winning the Bloomer Invitational. I think that was the first time we've won that as a team. Tyler Ryder ended up, he was the medalist there for the 2nd year in a row. He gets this plaid jacket. They kind of do it kind of like the Masters with their green jacket. It's kind of cool. And the Bloomer colors and everything. His name's put on there. If you went to his grad party, you can see it hidden in his garage there. And then we ended up going, so then we had to go finish in Amory for our conference. We took 2nd there, but throughout the season we were able to accumulate enough points to win the conference for the first time since 1979. Wow. So that was really cool. The boys liked that. They enjoyed that a lot. They had a kind of a shirt made up, kind of joking with some of the conference teams, so they enjoyed that. And then we went to regionals, which was right at Clifton Highlands here, Prescott, and we won the regional for the first time ever in school history. Then we went to Hayward at the sectional tournament and won the sectional, shooting the best score in Division II, to the strongest sectional overall. And then won that for the first time in school history, the sectional, and ended up going to state. So that was the second time we ever went to state. 1989 was the first time, so it was good to get down there again. So overall, it was just a wonderful season. We had 5 seniors was our main, on their main 5. But we also got some experience with some of our underclassmen, Emmett Stokel, Miles Malm, Shia Parmenter, all got to golf a little bit of varsity this year, so that'll be looking forward to next year. Hopefully we can keep them rolling. Caden Johnson also played a lot of varsity last year, so we'll have something going there. But this senior class, like Mr. Smith said, was kind of an awesome class overall. The sports from fall all the way through spring, and those 5 boys were going to be a lot to miss for sure. Tyler Ryder was Player of the Year again in the conference, the 2nd year in a row. Sam Bressman was 2nd team all-conference. Luke Kinneman was honorable mention. Harris Linderholm was also honorable mention. So 4 of our 5 were in the top 12 or top 15 of the conference. So they put forth the effort and did wonderful things. So hopefully we can keep it rolling now as this, but it's kind of hard to top that with this kind of a group. So
That's great.
that's be it.
Nice season. Nice job.
Thanks, Scott. We're going to have Emily and Carl Calabrese come up.
All right. Prescott Force had an exciting spring, so congrats to all these programs and their athletes on successful seasons. Today we brought a few of our athletes with us to help tell the story of this spring's Prescott Track and Field program.
My name is Ethan. This spring we had 86 athletes, including 19 seniors out for high school track and just under 80 middle school athletes. It was a crazy year, again sharing our tight space down at Laney Athletic Complex, but on the bright side it provided some opportunities for our middle school and high school athletes to work and learn together this year. At the high school level, we attended a total of 18 meets where we set over 300 personal records along the way.
My name's Kira. We had 19 varsity all-conference award winners, and as a team, our girls placed 4th, and our boys had the best showing we've ever seen, placing 2nd in a hard-fought battle against our track rivals and good friends, Osceola. Our conference is like a little family, and it's really fun to run every time we have a conference meet. At the regional level, our girls came out with a runner-up finish, and the boys were 1 point shy of that. Throughout the season, 14 athletes were involved in setting a total of 10 school records.
Our season culminated at the state meet where Prescott was represented by 11 hardworking athletes, many of whom are here with us today, and a couple of the others who were invited are off at football practice, and we're hoping to make it in time, but they're busy there, so that's all right. Kira Dix set the school record in the 3,200 meter and finished 14th overall at state. Will Packard placed 15th in the 300 meter hurdles and leaves the program as our school record holder in that event as well. The boys 4x4, consisting of Packard, Jack Krieger, Kobe Russell, and Andrew Russell, made it onto the podium with a 6th place finish. Ethan West, also with us today, medaled 3 times at the state meet with a 5th place finish in pole vault and got to do the fun backflip at the end of the ceremony. A 4th place finish in the 200 meter and is also leaving as the school record holder in that event. And finally, as a member of the 4x100 meter relay, consisting of Ethan, Andrew Lesso, Andrew Russell, and Wyatt Budworth. The 4x100 meter relay ended their season as state champions and the new Division II state record holders in the event. If you have not watched the video, I highly recommend you look that up. It's pretty fun to watch Ethan kick it into an extra gear at the end.
Overall, Prescott Track and Field had a very successful season, filled with lots of hard work, a little bit of heartbreak, which led to some very important life lessons about resiliency and overcoming adversity. And as a whole, just a lot of memories were made as a team this year. We are very proud of our season, and we want to thank our community, our awesome board here, all of our admin, for all of the support that we had for the team throughout the year. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Good season.
All right, Sarah Dusick, and I'm here today just to give a quick little update on summer school. Summer school started a week ago today, so we have a full week under our belt. We have approximately 550 students participating in summer school this year, and every year it just gets more streamlined and easier to flow, but being able to keep the same protocols in place. So lots of fun classes. A parent that moved here from a different school district came in the other day and was talking about how excited they were when the course booklet came out because it looked very different than their previous school district and how their kid was actually really excited to sign up for summer school instead of at their previous district. So that was kind of fun to hear that they love it, and just being in the hallways, even at passing time, there's just kids everywhere and it's just laughter and fun and lots of walk in the hallway because they like to run to get to their next class. But it's overall going really, really well, and that will wrap up on July 1st.
Thank you. And Sandy Strand with Student Services.
Good evening, members of the board. Do you have this presentation, the one that I shared with you on joint federal notification?
Yes.
This is really exciting. It's almost as
Actually, we
exciting as athletics and the arts. So I'm going to try and throw in some phrases like our team, which was mostly Michael Kosmalski and myself, but also all of our special education teachers in the district, our front office staff in all of our buildings, and our building administrators. Every year, the federal government requires that DPI verify that local education agencies are meeting the requirements of IDEA Part B in terms of certain factors, which are called indicators. Annually, we receive a report, and the report is usually based on the data from the prior year, and in some cases, it's based on data from 2 years prior. And it helps us to strategically target and close gaps and improve outcomes for our students who have IEPs. And determinations are comprised of both compliance determinations and results indicators. So the designations that you can receive on the joint federal notification are you either meet requirements, meaning that you are at 80% or higher of compliance, that you need assistance year one, meaning you're 60 to 79% compliant, needs assistance year two, so 2 consecutive years if you show that you need assistance. Ultimately, then you go on a corrective action plan, which requires regular meetings with the Department of Public Instruction. It requires us to create a SMARTY goal and to have that corrective action plan then implemented. I am very, very pleased to share, first of all, some of the areas that we are rated on are our graduate exiters. So when we have students that remain in school between 18 and 21, we actually kind of get dinged for that, even though those decisions are based on student need. So we generally receive just a score of 1 out of 2 for that, because we always have 1 or 2 students, and our N is so small in a district like this that 1 or 2 students can throw the whole thing off. Dropout exiters, math assessment participation, ELA assessment participation. It looks at our math and ELA proficiency for students with IEPs. It looks at discrepant discipline practices. It looks at our educational environment codes. So how much are our students being how frequently are our students in their regular classroom versus how frequently are they being pulled out of their regular classroom. The goal is that our students are spending 80% or more of their day in the regular classroom, and we do a really good job with that. We also look at disproportionate categories, timely evaluations, preschool transitions, etc. My first year, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, we were at year 1 needs improvement, or needs assistance, and that was because of our the previous year, our math and ELA assessment participation. And then last year, we also were needs assistance, and that was needs assistance year 2, again, based on prior year data. And so we created, Michael and I, a corrective action plan, and we met quarterly with the Department of Public Instruction to educate our staff and our parents about the importance of statewide testing. And I am proud to say that for last year, based on last year's data, the report we just got, we meet requirements, we're off of our corrective action plan, and this year, so that's based on last year's testing data, we know that this year we had 0 opt-outs for statewide testing, so we will also probably meet requirements for next year. So what we know about this is that our teachers are doing an excellent job talking to parents, coaching parents in IEP meetings about the importance of the participation, and it's really good information for our PLC leads to be able to talk about how are we differentiating instruction for all of our students in our classrooms. And yeah, and that is my good news, because I don't have to deal with DPI and a corrective action plan again next year. So there you go.
Congratulations.
Nice job.
And we won. We're not a runner-up.
All right. And if you are looking on TV and reviewing this meeting, if you look to my left, just by the podium, you will see Jim Reef, who is the heir apparent and will be taking the reins as of July 1st. And so I wanted to welcome him to Prescott. He has been just a barrel of energy. He sat in with the administrative team for our 2-day retreat, helped facilitate day 2. He's been meeting with all supervisors, the district office. He's been, I do not know how he's being able to stay awake. Came off his last board meeting, I think earlier this week, and then came right into the office by 7:30. So Jim, I'll just share that it was my anniversary last week. Josh Figge and Amy, it's their anniversary tonight. That's why they are not here. But 32 years ago, my wife's family just said, she's perfect. So don't ruin her. So all I'm going to say is Prescott's perfect. I know it'll be in great hands.
Don't ruin her.
Don't ruin her. So welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to share that as we get into the summer, there will be opportunities to kind of have great events and engagement with the community. National Night Out is set for August 5th, which is a Tuesday, and that's from 5 to 8. And I do know that Jim Reef will be in his sweats, ready to participate in the color run that will have a 5 o'clock start. So,
Nice.
enjoy.
Did you just find out about that?
Breaking news.
Yeah, before we move on, we just wanted to take a second, Rick, and I don't normally read stuff, but I'm on an over-under tonight, so I'm going to read this. But tonight, at Dr. Spikuza's last board meeting, we have the distinct honor of recognizing his vision, integrity, and commitment to public education, and the enduring mark he has left on our schools and our entire Prescott community. And I know this is off script, guys, sorry already, but last time we went over something like this, you shared it with your family, and so I'll send this to you so you can just give them a copy as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Dr. Spikuza joined the Prescott School District 10 years ago and has faithfully served as our superintendent since that time. In that time, he has not only led, he has lifted. He has guided our schools through seasons of change, challenge, and incredible growth with steady leadership and unwavering belief in the power of public education. Under Dr. Spikuza's direction, our district has consistently ranked among the top 10% in almost all academic markers in the state of Wisconsin. We are academically strong, community-focused, financially stable, and currently reinvesting in our strongest resources, our staff. He led us through more than one complex referenda, ensuring that our facilities match the quality of our instruction and increased our building footprints to offer more opportunities to our students and community. Most recently, he led a successful referendum with the priority of maintaining our high-quality staff through competitive pay and benefits. Dr. Spikuza helped shape our culture of student-centered learning, where staff were supported through a strong PLC structure, collaboration Mondays, and leadership incentives. Through Dr. Spikuza, students were seen, families were valued, and our students were invested in through resources, time, and a commitment to getting better within every aspect of our district. During unprecedented times, when many districts were losing leaders from the challenges of a global pandemic, Dr. Spikuza remained calm, thoughtful, and principled in voice. During the changing educational landscape, he dug in and advocated for staff and students. He has worked tirelessly to ensure our students continue to learn, grow, and thrive, no matter the circumstances. But beyond his achievements, his character stands out the most. Dr. Spikuza is a listener, a researcher, a collaborator, a leader who asks hard questions and gives honest answers. Dr. Spikuza has put together our entire leadership team from the office staff to each administrator and director. As much as he values research and growth, he thrives at opportunities to mentor and lead his administrative team. Dr. Spikuza leads not for recognition, but because he cares deeply about the future of our children, the future of public education, and the strength of our community. Tonight, as we mark his final board meeting as our superintendent, we don't just celebrate years of service, we celebrate the lives he's touched, the trust he's earned, and the future he's helped build. On behalf of the Prescott School Board, our staff, our students, and our families, thank you, Dr. Spikuza. You leave behind not just a record of success, but a legacy of heart. We wish you joy, family time, and well-earned rest in your retirement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pat, do you want to say anything, any words here?
I do, but I think I'm going to just let that be. We're going to have an opportunity next week to share some comments. But thank you for everything that you've done. You've been here my entire time on the board, and even before I was on the board, through some various committees and everything. So thank you for everything, and enjoy.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything? Yeah, I'll keep this quick because I know we got to keep her moving. But Rick, 10 years, it's been a journey together. I feel like a lot of the times here. But I said this before, I'll say it again. It's, being a leader is tough. You have to make tough decisions, and you're not always going to make everybody happy. Usually you're making some people not happy. Hopefully it's not over half the people, but you're making tough decisions. And Rick has had to be a leader in the good times and the really, really tough times. And we know what the really, really tough times were. The whole country went through it for years. And in those times, that's where the leaders rise, that's where the great leaders rise up. And we needed a leader through the tough times, and Rick was there for us. And I think the proof is in the administration. We've had an administration that went through that with him. Nobody left. Nobody did. And that tells me that the leader at the top has the trust and the people under him, and they would run through a wall for him. So that is the type of person that Rick is. Jim, you got some big shoes to fill, but I will say this. He's also left us in an amazingly financially stable position. We are really in a strong spot right now financially, and we'll talk about that later tonight. And that's a tribute to Rick's just his general attention to detail, and he's one of his wheelhouses. We always said is finances, and we'll go through it tonight. But big shoes to fill, Rick. Thank you for the time I know you've put in over the last 10 years. It's probably been, I'd love to do the math on how much time you actually spent over the 10 years thinking about school district stuff. Would be staggering, but thank you so much, and you're going to be missed. And actually enjoy retirement, and hopefully you get to enjoy retirement, and hopefully we didn't ruin you for your wife. So
She'll remind you next week.
I know. But thank you. Rick, do you got anything else to add? Or?
I am beyond words, and I did ask privilege to have last word tonight, so I'll reserve comment for then. But two things that you pointed out is that you can't do it alone. You lead with, and so Jim, you inherit an incredible school board and administrative team, and I think the time I've gotten to know Jim, Prescott, you're in good hands, and I look forward from afar to be able to see the trajectory continue to go upward. So thank you.
All right. Let's go to school business and get some things done. The consent agenda is first item here. So in consent we have the May 21st, 2025 regular board minutes, May 29th work session and special business meeting minutes, finance reports, clarification on anonymous donation toward Angel Fund and R5 Manufacturing from May 2025, personnel report for...
And just point of interest, just make sure that it was a $6,000 contribution, $5,000 of it went to Angel Fund, $1,000 went to 5R Manufacturing.
Right. Okay. Yep. Personnel report for non-licensed staff, Alice training drills, nursing annual report, nutritional services annual report, annual community education review, girls golf, football, and cross-country overnight trips for the summer and fall of 2025, increasing life insurance coverage from $15,000 to $25,000 for eligible employees, and finally, approve the hourly rate chart for admin assistants, library specialists, food service, and custodians. Anything in the consent that anyone would like to pull out?
No.
Okay, I will adopt the consent agenda as presented. Are there any objections? No objections. Consent agenda is adopted. Thank you. We're going to go to personnel reports for licensed staff. First one is hires.
Yes, for special education, we have an intermediate cross-categorical teacher that will be filling a one-year leave, and that's Riley Green. And then Sarah, help me on the last name, but it's Brianna Mikla, who will be a Malone third-grade teacher. Resignations, there are 3. Angela Schmidt, who was Malone's speech-language pathologist. Tracy Budworth, who was an English language arts teacher here at Prescott High School. And Chandler Jokum, middle school cross-categorical special education. At this time, there are no additional retirements.
All right, anybody have anything to comment on or add? Questions here?
I don't. I hope the best for all of our staff that are leaving us.
Yeah, I'll just comment because Tracy and I have gotten to know each other for many years now. I want to wish her the best.
Yeah.
I know it was a tough decision for her. I hope it works out. She's always got a place back here. You know, she calls us home, and I'll miss her. My kids love her. The senior class obviously had her at the senior graduation. She was the speaker at the graduation ceremony, and so she's held in high regards, and we're going to miss her. So thank you. So we need a motion to approve the personnel report for licensed staff.
I move to approve the personnel report for licensed staff listed above.
I'll second.
That's a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Item C, consider the second reading of the updated Neola School Board Grievance Procedure Policies.
So they're back-to-back. As you remember, for Neola, there are 2 series. The 3,000 are for licensed, 4,000 for non-licensed. The procedures are the identical mapping. It's just to the class and role of the individual. 3340 grievance procedure. As you look up on the screen, there are no changes from last week. The questions that you asked were specifically about kind of how the judgments were made. What we're really doing is just trying to make sure that it's fair on the superintendent with regards to anytime there's breaks, holidays, 5 days turnaround just wasn't really I think, appropriate. So what we've changed it to is that there's 15 school days allowing for that grievance in connection with the employee to occur. And then there was language at the end with regards to what the 3 definitions of workplace safety, no changes, termination, no changes, employee discipline, understanding that there's a continuum, and how that plays out. The first reading occurred in May, and there has been no updates to the district office or to myself. Any questions?
Any questions out here? Vicki, Helen, Tanya?
Nope.
No.
Pat, no? Okay, we can take a motion here.
I move to accept the second reading of policy 5411 with the following, or with the above-mentioned edits and considerations. Shoot.
Can you actually say reading of policies 3340 and 43?
Sure, yeah, that's the wrong one. I move to accept the second reading of policy 3340 and 4340 with the edits mentioned.
Good? Yeah.
I'll second.
All right, that's a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Item D, food pricing.
And so Nicole Lenzner, our Director of Nutritional Services, had a great end of year for our staff. Also, she and her assistant hosted and catered the end-of-year luncheon for our staff with a pasta bar. Thank you from the Italians. And it was outstanding. It was the most efficient that we've had in a number of years, and the work that she and Courtney did to make that a good event was outstanding. So thanks, Nicole, and welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Perfect. So we just wanted to touch base on a couple of the slides from the day that you all were sent. Breakfast, we wanted to showcase that the meals served, the participation, and it's really important to note that we did go up one, even with enrollment down. As a reminder, St. Joe's did not participate in breakfast, so those are really accurate numbers. So that leaves the 3,590 meal gap due to enrollment drop. That is roughly a $6,000 difference. And then when we go to lunch. So this is the first year without St. Joe's. St. Joe's did serve 12,000 meals last year, so that leaves the 9,000 meals due to the enrollment drop, totaling roughly $25,000. And I just wanted to remind everybody that the reason we parted ways with St. Joe's is we weren't breaking even. So I still stand by that was a really good decision, and they're doing amazing. I talked to Alice, and she calls when she needs, and we actually get some of her stuff sometimes, and we drive it over there. But so they're doing super good. So there was a difference from the enrollment, so I just wanted to showcase that. But our participation did go up on their 2%, so that was really awesome. So milk breaks. So St. Joe's served 4,000, but if you see, that's not a $4,000 difference. So great job, Prescott kids drinking milk. We partnered with an Adopt a Cow program that will only get better from here to kind of showcase the Wisconsin milk and all the fun things. Pictured, we had a gender reveal for the cow that we adopted. It was a girl. And I gotta tell you, my family will be mad. I didn't know all the answers that all the little kids had on the cow stuff. And, they were dairy farmers. So they're gonna be sad. But then we just wanted to point out the past themed events that we had. So there's a couple amazing ones. Bo showcased our cookies. That was kind of fun. But I think they really enjoy that, and it's a good kind of way to give back to them, because it's their lunch, it's their break for the day, but the more we can get them involved in stuff, the more they feel that they own the lunchroom. So that's our favorite stuff. And then we'll move to the price increases. So we did the back to back to back, and then I did put in a note section this year, so I just wanted to say anything that went up more than a quarter, I just noted that, hey, like, prices rose on everything on this list except for one thing, which is Cheez-Its. So as I was breaking it down, I was like, oh my gosh, Cheez-Its stayed the same, am I sure? So that one, that was it. But we did get rid of the Naked Juice, and we did get rid of Tropicana, only because I couldn't validate to myself raising it enough to make it more than the break even. So we did find that when we did a price comparison from Pepsi to IFD, that there is a 10 to 20 cent difference on the things that we listed were changing. So we're just gonna go straight to them. And if that changes, we'll shift back. So we're gonna do that quarterly instead of annually. So if I need to come and say, hey guys, do you mind if we kind of switch back? We'll do that. But with all of the changes that we have, including the breakfast and lunches going up a quarter, and then 10 cents for the milk, it is roughly $50,000 in additional revenue if everything stays in the same trajectory. But you know, it's food, so it kind of like, it does its thing, but it doesn't. It's special. It's a good way to describe it. But if you guys have any questions, I'd love to help answer them.
Vicki, do you have any questions for Nicole?
No, I don't.
Huh?
No?
Tanya?
I don't have questions. You have tons of information in here, and it was great just to kind of see all the stuff going on, so thank you. Yep. Yeah, it's unfortunate we have to raise prices. We were talking about this a little bit. It's unfortunate that we have to raise prices, but we all buy food at home, and we know the cost of food is increasing, and it's just what we have to do once in a while, and unfortunately we're there. And I saw that there is a free and reduced. We're in the above 20% for free and reduced, and just encourage families that as prices increase and things get tougher at home, we have some supports for that, so reach out. We also had a big donation to our Angel Fund and stuff like that to help support some of our more struggling families and students, so.
Absolutely.
Nicole, I know you work really hard to keep prices down and year over year and make it affordable for everybody. So why not though, even though I know you want to keep them down and affordable, why not consider higher increases to the a la carte items? Is there, what's the concept there?
Yep, so some of them did increase. A lot of them only increased by a couple cents. And I definitely can, if that's what you all decide, I can go back and kind of adjust them. But it's one of those things that we do a market basket case, so it's with like 32% is usually kind of where I gauge it to. You know, some are higher, some are lower. So we kind of make it overall, the big picture, try to look nice and buttoned up. And we definitely can raise prices, but if we raise them too much, they're not going to eat them. And
Totally
on
get it.
a la carte, I wish we could do away with a la carte. I wish I could get kids to eat more vegetables. As a matter of fact, parents, if your kids say that they're hungry, they can get double vegetable and double fruit, and it doesn't cost anything extra. So there's no reason why they shouldn't have a full plate. But the a la carte stuff is just kind of the stuff on the side, so it is a choice. So I feel like if we kind of increase that, we might reach that ceiling a lot quicker.
Sure. No, I mean, I would trust your data and what you see and then what you think is marketable. I've just always kind of, wanted
And I
on
can
that.
share the cost spreadsheet too. It's a DPI.
Maybe that'd be interesting, like at a later, at a board meeting down the road, if we, depending how we're doing, right, it could be
Or
worth
if you
it.
have like a light agenda, you just let me know. I'll come.
So we've got some projected fund increases, and I don't, are the projected fund increases, Dr. Spikuza, are we closing the gap, or are we projecting to close the gap fully?
No, it would not close the gap. We're still trying to, in the board reports for finances right now, we're negative 85,000. We have no new revenue coming in from students. Obviously, school's closed. We still have invoices to pay because it's net 30 and net 60. Nicole and I met this week. There are still, as you know, the state and federal funds come in at different times. One's a coupon to reduce your costs in the future, and then there are some commodities, and we're waiting for that last payment. One thing that we learned, however, is we budgeted an expectation, learning more about the formula. It's about meals served and number of students. And so we are getting, I think, 75% of what we thought we would get in commodities back. And so we're working with Kara to make sure that we adjust that to be a little bit more aware. I think, obviously, Nicole has been looking at, and I think for a district, right, that's one of the big things you have to talk about is we're running 4 kitchens.
Right.
And have the fewer students than we had in 15 years. So that's always going to be the drag on the system.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, good.
And just so you guys know, to close that gap too, we just received the breakfast equipment that I just received today. If you are all bored, you can come help me set it up after this. So that we got for free for a grant, and we're gonna do a breakfast after the bell essentially here. We're gonna do it right out here, so that way it won't cost any extra labor, and all the food will all be ready. So it's kind of a really awesome way to get kids to be able to touch it, because high schoolers aren't going to get here early to eat breakfast. So that's one of our pushes. And then another of our staff members, she agreed to go down in hours too. So we are kind of trimming as much as we can in that as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Big ring. It's a baseball game. Oh.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Looks nice.
All right,
I took a nap.
we'll take a motion.
It's great.
I move to approve the updated food pricing for the 25-26 school year as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. On to athletic handbook code revisions.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
Welcome again, Mr. Smith. It's you, a busy day. I'm glad you wore those sneakers.
Yep, here comes the rain. All right, so just kind of following up from the last board meeting. As we know, the WA as membership voted, and I'd say some big additions, 2 of them here for as we move into summer months into next year. So it's kind of some new language that we're going to be adding to the handbook, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. The first one would be with the NIL, the name, image, and likeness rules. So now students basically, they are permitted to profit off their name, their image, and their likeness. We cannot mandate that they let us know. It is kind of them as an individual. They can decide what they're going to do in terms of that, though there are rules with the WA that they could stub their toe and lose their eligibility. So basically this is saying is we strongly encourage them to keep us in the loop with everything that they do. And the biggest thing is just for education, and not necessarily for them, but the business that they're working with, because there are stipulations that if they're alumni, if they are already donating their booster to the school, that then it's a no-go in terms of sponsoring an athlete through this. So the biggest thing would be the education part, keeping people informed of what it looks like, and that's our plan with parents, with athletes. And then if a business says, hey, we would like to go into an agreement with one of your students, that we can walk through and make sure all our T's are crossed, our I's are dotted. Like I said, we cannot mandate that, but we can strongly encourage it. We can make sure our athletes are educated and that our parents understand, and then hopefully the businesses are willing to work with us also, so no one gets into hot water and we're not costing a kid eligibility, which we're here to help them. That's our job, and we hope the businesses obviously are on the same. If they're looking to do this, hopefully they're looking to help them also. So that'd be the biggest thing, is adding this to our handbook. This would be things that we'd go through thoroughly with our coaches, our parents, our athletes at our meetings. We make sure they have the information. There's a ton out there. Influential athlete who we worked with, they came up with kind of wordsmithing this, other schools in the Middle Border Conference, to put this together to make sure that everyone's informed and get the resources in their hands to make sure we're making good decisions that can be profitable, but making sure that our athletes understand what we can and can't do along with our businesses there. So that'd be the first one there with the NIL. I guess any questions, concerns, comments on that?
Questions there?
I did have a question, just, I was wondering, because I think we share the same kind of concerns of just that so much of this is about education and and education of all those involved, businesses, kids, families, and it's our kids that are going to get hurt if something happens, not the business or something like that. So I was wondering if you've thought about, or if you have something in the works where maybe you reach out to the Chamber of Commerce and have like a meeting on this, so some of our local businesses that are interested can come and learn.
Yes, my plan was to reach out to Kiwanis and see what we could do, is maybe attend a meeting with them, put something together, a slideshow, a quick video that they could take a look at, and then obviously be there in terms of communication that they need. But yeah, we're parallel with our thinking with being proactive and not reactive.
Yeah, great, thank you.
I guess that was like a meeting with the chamber would be good. They can get that information out to the chamber members in the community, who then share it with other businesses in the community, which would be good. But I guess my bigger concern is, so you've got this page that we're adding in. Should we put something a little more, I don't know, in bold that says something around the lines of don't jeopardize your eligibility? Please follow. I mean, I truly want kids and parents to understand that this is great, but if you misstep here, you're no longer eligible to play in your high school sport. So I guess, does that need to be more of a...
We could definitely bold, underline, make something stick out. Maybe just at the end there, competing, or to prevent the loss of eligibility. The hard part is we have to encourage and we have to walk through these things, but then also we are the jury. If something were to go wrong, we can't just brush it under the rug. We have integrity and a character that we have to abide by. But yeah, I agree. Something in there of jumping out like this isn't taken lightly by the WIA. And my hope is the WIA will work with us. Let's say a student stubs their toe and does something, they're like, I didn't, this business told me that this was no big deal, and I got excited, that they would work with us to correct it instead of just drop the hammer, but we're at the mercy of their judgment there. So yeah, I agree something and that's our plan, to drill home with students and parents that this is a big deal. This isn't something to be taken lightly. You could lose your eligibility if we don't follow what we need to follow.
If say someone in our district finds something, then that's on us to deal with it and take care of it. But could other community, oh my gosh, what am I trying to say?
Like report?
Report to WIA that I believe this is a violation.
That's probably what would be the most likely how to. And Matt, you guys do such a great job of having really consistent meetings prior to every season with all the kids and coaches, and I think like this is maybe just something that's really important to highlight with families there too.
This will be our number one first new thing. And most of the families, they've heard about this the last couple of years that it's been voted on. It got voted down, then obviously it passed now. So Some of them may not have ever heard of it. They're like, what's NIL mean? Some of them, it's okay, it went through now. What does it mean? What does it look like? Help us here. So that's my hope. This will be the first thing we hit on with our parent meetings and athletes there to make sure that they understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there could be consequences if we don't follow the rules.
And really, like, it's unfortunate we're a small town, that's the beauty of it, but I look at this and the definition of who is associated with the school district. I almost can't think of any business around here that probably would be eligible to support, and I think that's just the awareness that needs to probably happen.
Yeah, you're hard pressed to find a business that isn't related in some way, which is a great thing.
Which is a great thing, because we have people that donate and part of boosters and our alumni, but also, so, okay, thank you.
Anything else, guys? Matt, next one.
The second one here is the unlimited summer contact. And basically, this is just wording in there, more a reference for our coaches. And looking at what we have planned for this year, I haven't seen a outrageous uptick. Like I said, a lot of things were already happening, but it was more of just an open gym, or other coaches from other districts were coming in. We were swapping athletes. Basically, this was kind of just put together just to make sure our coaches continue to understand moving forward that our activities office, we're informed of open gym, skill sessions, camps, etc., just so we can maintain a healthy, well-balanced calendar, that we're not overwhelming our students. And I think just some of the, the terms in here, in terms of their mental and physical health, is important to highlight. Coaches are still encouraged to have these days and to promote them, but respecting time, respecting overall well-being being our top priority. And then kind of the asterisk there at the end, that if we do see, I'll call it an issue moving forward, that we're getting overwhelmed, we're losing student athletes to becoming, they're participating less because of things in the summer here, having the right to limit those. Kind of right now, it's very tough for me to not know what we're doing to mandate and say, here's the cap, you can't do any more than that. But just to really trust the people that we have in the right spots to continue to do things the right way. But if we do see, I'll call it issues popping up, that we're abusing this new policy with the WA, that then my ability to step in and try to right the ship there to make sure, like I said, the well-being, the physical and mental health of our students is at the top priority there moving forward. So this would be more of a guideline comparative to a restriction or a procedure. I guess it's a procedure, a policy. Okay. More of just kind of a guiding light for us as we move forward. And if it's a thing that we see it become an issue, we all have the ability here at your tables to say, hey, going into 26, 27, this needs to be reworded. This can be big, bold, and all caps.
I mean, ultimately, we could put a policy in place if we wanted to.
Yes, absolutely.
And nor do we want to. We want to trust coaches and stuff. So I appreciate the asterisk there. I think that just puts it out there that we value that our kids are well-rounded.
Yep.
There's a lot going on in their lives, and that you can step in if needed.
Yep, we're going to trust the people that we have in spots. That's why they're there. But if we need to intervene, then we'll look at that with the case-by-case basis.
Anybody have any other comments on this one?
Nope.
No.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Take a motion.
I move to approve the athletic handbook code revisions for the 24-25 school year.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. All right, we are on to item F, consider an administrative proposal for reclassification of aides to be instructional assistants.
Yeah, and before, I'm going to have Sandy with Student Services and Sarah Dusick, our principal at Malone. I also want to recognize that we have three of our aides that are in the audience, Michelle, Cheryl, and Heather. Thank you very much. I had the privilege of sitting down with them and talking to them as well. What I wanted to share is that we have a proposal tonight that really has been in the works for over a year. It didn't follow kind of your typical guiding change document, but it is something that Sandy and Sarah have been working on for over a year. They kind of brought it to my attention for consideration and thoughts, both at the administrative Tuesday morning meetings, but also then with me individually. I think it was in May where I went and spoke with the aides over at Malone. We had the general ed and special ed aides in the audience. I understand that Sandy and Sarah also then met with the general ed aides and then special ed aides on different occasions so that they could share their input And it continued to be refined, I would say, over the last 6 weeks. I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, who's going to kind of lead the discussion. What I do want to share is that currently on what's in the pay scale is that we have 2 different pay scales. This is kind of also coming out of a layer of looking at and benchmarking, making sure that we're paying our staff a competitive wage for the work that they're doing. So this reclassification is not just about the dollars, but it also is about the actual role and job description, and that is of equal importance. So Sarah, without further ado, if you want to kind of talk about the journey, how this is crystallized, and walk us through the slides.
All right, so like Dr. Spikuza had mentioned, Sandy and I have been talking about this for about a year, and then we did go to the aides, I think it was probably April, to talk about the proposal of doing away with the differentiation. And really where Sandy and I finally came to yes, we agree on this wholeheartedly, was the implementation of Act 20. The implementation of Act 20 brought personal reading plans for students. Any student who performed under the 25th percentile was required to have a personal reading plan that was carried out by our intervention teachers. And then that ended up being K-3 wise, 75 plus kids. And that 75 plus kids that need a 10-week intervention, they have attendance taken every day during that intervention. They have their personal reading plans that have to be followed. And then every 10 weeks, those teachers then have to share those reports out to families, and it's either we continue the student on the personal reading plan or the student has met the guidelines to be removed from the reading plan. And then in talking to our intervention teachers, we just kind of were talking about how we're thinking about having a classification of instructional assistants, and both of them were like, oh my gosh, I could benefit wholeheartedly from having somebody that's assigned to me to help me with my work, that I can say, go work with this group of kids, or push into this classroom and work with this group of kids, and push into this classroom and work with this group of kids. Whereas historically, those aides were aides who were assigned to grade level teams, and they did some push-in work or they did some pull-out work, but they also had times where they were supporting the classroom teachers in material prep or other things like that. And under this plan, that would go away, because they would have, then all of our instructional assistants would have a case manager that they would report to, that would kind of build their schedule, and it would be based on the students that they're serving, either through their interventions and their personal reading plans or through their IEPs and SPED students.
So we're essentially taking away that general classroom prep piece and making the focus solely on student progress.
Can you go to that next slide? Yeah, so I already just kind of talked about this, about the impact that Act 20 had with the 75 plus kids that ended up on personal reading plans, and then just the paperwork, and then all of those kids either weekly have to be progress monitored or every other week have to be progress monitored. So if we have intervention teachers who have to progress monitor 30 kids a week, that's a lot of time and instruction that they aren't able to deliver to those students during their intervention time, or they're having to our intervention teachers also do enrichment activities with kids who need a push, or they do just even bubble kids who aren't in that 25th percentile. They work with them through our title programming too. And so, you can go to the next slide, Courtney. So that's when we talked about how, next slide.
Not me.
Yeah, sorry, Rick.
It's Rick. He does it all. It's just a point to show. He does that too.
That's where we talked about how really going to an instructional assistant program really is more student first focused, and the students that we're focusing on first are our students with IEPs. We're going to make sure that our students with IEPs have their SPED teacher minutes and their SPED aid minutes met. And then from there, we'll have instructional assistants then that are assigned to our intervention teachers who would work with those intervention teachers to help with those 75th percentile and those PRP kids, so that they can have even further reach into them. So instead of just maybe meeting with them during cardinal time, those instructional assistants can push into a classroom and support a small group of kids within the core instruction of the classroom. Just doing that. So it's really just shifting to student-first programming instead of having it be that classroom teachers have somebody that's going to help them do material prep for a half hour, 45 minutes, hour and a half, however long a day. That's going to go away. And all of the instructional assistants will be with a case manager who assigns them to students that they're going to be working with, small groups of students that they're going to be working with, and then all of them would also have supervision support throughout the day that we also already have to have covered too, lunch, recess, supervision. But we would have the case managers of all of them work together to build that supervision schedule. I give them a skeleton that says, I need this many people at this time, and they would look at their schedules and who am I supporting at that time? Okay, I don't need an aide at that time. I could have them do that supervision part of it. And those 6 case managers, the intervention teachers and the force fed teachers, have already said that they want to work together to build that schedule based on the needs of their kids. I plugged their names in before and they were like, well, wait a second, that doesn't necessarily work because I need her to do this at that time. And so then we just said, okay, well then I'll give you the skeleton of what we need for coverage, and then you build that schedule based on what they're doing with other students during those other times as well. So.
No. I think we're on track. The last slide is just our final recommendations.
What questions do you have?
Helen, do you want to start? Do you have questions here?
Yeah, how many of those, so you said it added 75 students that have those plans, but how many of those are actually special education students already in title?
Only like 10.
Okay.
That have, like, the only way we had the SPED teacher also take over their PRP is if they had a reading goal in their IEP. If they didn't have a reading goal in their IEP, then it just went to the intervention teacher to support them. So if we had behavior kids that didn't have any reading goals, then the intervention teachers were supporting them in their PRPs. So it ended up being under 15, I think it was.
So more along that required pre-referral intervention. Yeah, you've got the catch-all of once you have an IEP, you program based on needs, but we try not to just throw the kitchen sink at our kids. We like to do those pre-referral interventions to determine whether or not they actually have a disability in that area.
I'm just asking because I know that because some of those students are already being serviced by the special education teacher and are already being, or already have built-in minutes that they need, para minutes that are additional adult support within their IEP. So that.
Right, and when we took those students out and we did how many students the intervention teachers supported, it was like 35.6 each.
Okay.
So this was, so say the other 65, was that number a lot more than you expected with implementing?
I think it was, and then also, like, we have been working with Michael through teaching and learning to determine what is our number for graduating out, right?
Yeah.
Like, where do we, like, if they're 25th percentile, what do they have to achieve in progress monitoring 3 times above the bar in order to be dismissed?
Yeah.
And originally, we had set it at like 40%. Well, then you're taking kids who are super low and trying to, in 10 weeks, bring them 25 percentiles up, which we just weren't having success in graduating kids. We don't want to arbitrarily change that number because we don't want it to be like, well, we're just going to dumb it down so that we can graduate kids out, right? We want them to graduate out and know that they hopefully aren't going to be back on a plan because of the interventions that we did. So we're still playing with that number, but at the end of this year, when we redid it, it ended up still being 72 kids.
Wow.
And because you'll have some graduate out and then you'll have some that repopulate.
And the law doesn't give any flexibility for those students who just performed poorly on the day that they did the Ames web testing, and so suddenly they have to be on a PRP anyway with all of these requirements.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, this sounds like you've had good discussions with everybody, and for sure the implementation of Act 20 and where we're at with the reading and how it looks like we need to to work around and get this figured out. For sure, I mean, we know we need our interventionists, but that's a lot to add on.
Well,
to
it
their
just makes it
plates.
then that the
It just-
interventionists aren't able to also do more kids above the 25th
Right.
percentile. Those bubble kids that when we
Just need
talk
that
about
little-
forward data
Yeah.
are the ones that we have those growth outcomes for.
Yeah.
Or just even the kids who they just need some enrichment. Amy Figge does, 2 or 3 enrichment classes a day too, where she takes kids who are really high achieving and she pushes them even further than what they're able to do in the classroom too. And so some of that stuff would have to go away without giving our intervention teachers some of that relief belt as well.
Okay.
And then we also have one of our intervention teachers that does go to St. Joe's for part of their day, like an hour each morning. It'll end up being to service and support them in their interventions as well, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Tanya?
Yeah, I really like that we're shifting to a student-focused lens with this. And so I can really wrap my head around the idea that these PRPs are very similar to an IEP, although short-term, right? So we're doing all of the same kind of stuff in a 10-week period. So that really resonates with me, that it makes sense that we're asking our teacher aides to do very similar things with our general ed students and our non-general ed, if we keep it with a student focus rather than a prep focused, if you will. So I think it's a great plan. I know that there's some cultural pieces and stuff going on with it, and we want to kind of elevate where our aides are. I mean, everybody within our system, and so this seems like a really appropriate way to do that. Probably one of my questions was, you mentioned interventionalists and specifically call out reading. Would like our math interventionalists more at the secondary type levels also have somebody working with them? Or are we really focusing on PRPs
Well, at
with
the
that?
elementary level, it's really the PRPs.
We only have like what we call general education aides.
Yeah.
At the elementary level.
Yep.
So really that culture piece was really an elementary problem.
Okay.
We only have aides that are 100% special ed at the middle school, high school level.
Okay. But with the reclassification, we can shift. Yeah.
And then we would have to do personnel activity reports to track time and make sure that an appropriate amount of time is billed to general ed and special ed. So that's the managerial.
And that's one of the conversations Sandy and I even yesterday were on the phone talking, and we talked about one place where this is going to really be felt is our classroom teachers. Because our classroom teachers are used to having a tray outside their room that says, like, hey, in your downtime, go do this.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to happen anymore, right? Like it's going to be, they're going to go check with Amy Figge or Megan Smith, and they're going to say, well, go pull this student and work with this student now, or go assess this student, or go do that. So there won't be that anymore. It's going to be the classroom teachers who they're going to have to find that time to do that now. Too.
Yeah, and I think you guys did a good job of saying that this reclassification, although we recognize that there is a need to do something, this reclassification isn't about not valuing what some are doing or what weren't doing, but really like these PRPs are driving us to have to shift how we're using our staff. And so I think you guys have done a great job thinking of it that way and putting staff in front of our students. I don't think we should really have any staff within our district that aren't working with kids, and so this makes a lot of sense to me. There's a lot of management pieces there. I think those will be some tough conversations, but you guys have got this, and I support it.
Pat?
Yeah, no additional questions.
Agreed. Thanks, ladies. If we're good with discussion, we can take a motion here.
I move to approve the administrative proposal for reclassification of aides to be instructional assistants.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Item G, proposed an hourly wage increase based on board's decision of 1-tier or 2-tier job class.
Okay, so this one, obviously, we had 3 options for you to consider. It was all contingent on what you decided at the beginning. So I'm going to pull up the current hourly wage scale for you. I was going to say, Courtney, if you could click on that for me. There we go. All right. At this time, what we're looking at is line 31. What we would be proposing, based on the Alera job study, is that we are, as you mentioned, we are trying to adjust something that we thought that the status quo wasn't working. We did want to make sure that all staff had support and that management had the flexibility for placing the staff where the greatest needs were. As we become working on that, we're going to reclassify the title to be an instructional specialist. We could have gone with a percent increase. We do know that the work that our aides are doing when it's working with students who have been identified or on an IEP, or students who are pre-intervention or pre-IEP, and we're kind of monitoring through interventions, and enrichment is going to be raising the game for everybody. So at this time, administration, we've looked at where we were in benchmarking. I'm proposing that we would have $1 an hour increase for steps 1 through 5, over and above what occurred last year. The increases for aides last year ranged over 7%, and this raise would add a range of basically 8.5 to just under 9%. As you know, we have 5 steps. We have staff that have worked with us in this arena for over 20 years, and so whatever we've done, either with regards to a percent increase or a fixed amount, that gets added on to their hourly wage. Because there had been a historic differential for special education, anybody that is going to be classified as an instructional assistant, the numbers in red on row 31 would be the new hourly wage, and that's, as I said, $1 increase above where those cells were a year ago. Any individual that's above step 5 would get the $1. To make up for any individual specific to general ed, they would receive $1.25, and that would be a one-time adjustment to make sure that they're on the same tier with the pay increase as we consolidate from 2 tiers to a 1-tier pay scale.
Pat, do you have anything on this one, questions?
I don't.
All right, Tanya?
I don't have questions. I just want to call out that this is in response to the Alera job study, and our, specifically some of our aides being underpaid compared to our neighboring districts, so.
Vicki?
I don't have any questions.
Helen? No. Rick, I just wanted to echo Tanya's comment here with the Alera study. So, we were pretty close to being at market value with the general aids, but we were under with the special ed aids. Mm-hmm. Now with this additional increase, does that get us at market? Do we remember? I can't recall if that got us, how close that got us to, or within the range where we were shooting for?
We're getting closer. It's still not quite there yet, but I think that...
so next year we could be looking at something similar where we're trying to close a gap, right?
Exactly, and I think interesting, Marty Coyle reached out today to just say he wanted to know how things went with the board, and I talked with Chantel and Jim. I think that it would be nice to get a refresh on the databases, whether or not it's every year or every other year, but this is...
Our competitive data?
Yes. Yeah, and I don't think, this will not completely close the gap, but very similar to the teachers. If you look on columns G through H, you can see kind of the decisions that we've made. We knew that our administrative assistants were below market, and so they got a 4.5% increase. Our custodians were near market, and so those increases were 3.5%. Food service, both because of where we are financially, but also they were at market, and CPI is 2.95. They received a 3% increase. So the differentiations were all market-driven. driven. Historically, it would be, everybody got the same amount, but now what we're trying to do is put the money and to make sure that all staff and all roles are competitively priced.
Great. Thanks for calling that out, because I think one of the key decisions that we're trying to make here is to target areas that are under market value. And that was the point of the study. That's why we're targeting these groups. Rick, one more question here. When you mentioned we had a 7% increase last year, are you referring to this 24-25 school year when we gave the dollar increase in the middle of the year?
Well, correct. So that raised kind of, it's on this one.
You mentioned that we had a 7% increase last year, and then we're going to do a 8.5 or 8.4 to 8.9 or whatever this year.
Yeah.
Is that?
So these were in yellow, based on, and we'll go into this with more detail when we talk about end of year, but when people ask about how the operation levy dollars were spent, priority one was to make sure that we were investing in our staff financially. So when you look at the increases for hourly from 23 to 24 based on both the fall increase and then the mid-year increase, it basically ranged from 7 to 10%. So we're continuing to try to, we're not there yet, but in a similar way that we did with the teachers, is that I think that it's a multi-year journey, but I think that we're making a pretty big bite into the apple.
Yep. Okay, that's what I wanted to just point out. Okay. Anybody else have any questions on anything? We're good with it. We can make a motion.
I move to approve the proposed hourly wage increase based on the board decision of a one-tier job classification consisting of $1 added to each step 1 through 5. General aides who are currently above step 5 will receive a $1.25 raise for fall of 2025 to adjust for the consolidation of a one-tiered instructional assistant job classification.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries. Next item is H, consider the bus driver rates for next year.
So we have a special gift coming in.
Oh.
How does she do
Yeah. That's awesome. I needed the head edge of that.
For our bus drivers, you know that we do a multi-tiered payment scale. We have a guaranteed base rate that is given to every driver, and then it also differentiates based on their route, the number of miles, and how long that they drive. We've been gathering information. CISA 11 has presented the information. Know that some people report it on a 2-week salary basis. Some report it out on miles. Some report it on hours. So it is always apples to oranges. We had a really nice opportunity where Veronica and Chantel, payroll and HR worked together. Went over a chart with Jim late last night, and then we revisited it again. We believe, based on our comparisons, we had River Falls and Superior and some other information, is that our bus drivers, when you look at their base pay, plus they get 44 cents per mile, so we ended up calculating into an hourly wage for their driving, and they drive 3 hours a day, and then for their base pay, they are market competitive. And so, given that, we believe that historically we've put increases on different parts or all of the components. We're recommending a 3.25% increase on their overall base, which would, I believe, increase it from 1,500 guaranteed to
1552.
52. That would go into effect July 1, since some of them drive year-round. We know that there are some extracurricular, so when they drive for sporting events, when they're overnight trips, when they're specialized transportation, we did not have time to go through all of that. We've kind of piecemealed that, but I thought that was something that Jim, Heather, Rick Montreal, who supervises Heather, and Chantel could work on and come back to you before August. So right now, we're looking at that we're pretty well set in the market with our bus drivers, and suggesting that a 3.25, which is slightly above inflation, would be appropriate.
Vicki, any questions on this one?
No questions.
Helen?
Nope.
Tanya?
No, I don't have any questions.
Pat?
No questions.
Alrighty. We can entertain a motion.
I move to approve the bus driver wage increase for the 25-26 school year of 3.25% added to the monthly base pay.
And can I friendly amendment? I just caught it. We do have 4 individuals that are working on smaller routes for special education and are paid just by the hour. And so if you can, right after base pay.
Let's redo that.
I move to approve the bus driver wage increase for the 25-26 school year of a 3.25% added to the monthly base pay, and for the 4 unique hourly only drivers, an increase of 3.25%.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. We are on to item I, new ECA category payment for music digital technology.
Yeah, so this one, we're going to have to come back to you. We were unable to meet the deadline. We had put it up there on the agenda. ECA stands for extracurricular activity. It is printed at the back of the handbook. We have created a whole new class for 612 called Music Digital Technology. There is a proposal where there will be garage band and events that'll go out into the community, into the coffee houses and things like that, so it will be supervised by our teacher. One of the things that we've noticed, I think, Mr. Igo, I think there isn't, I think we have an incredible number of students that are enrolled in this class, and then at high school for the 9th graders, because they've had it in middle school. So the only thing is, I wanted to say you don't have to act on it because we're unprepared. We put it in as a bookmark, hoping that we would, but it'll be coming back to agenda, and there is a promise that it will be made. We just don't have the details for you.
All right, we'll move on to item J, final budget year expenditures.
All right. We kind of alluded to this in our conversation as we were talking about food service. I just got to get to the right spreadsheet here. You had asked last month for us to kind of maybe summarize a little bit with regards to what categories and how have we spent the dollars that we received from the voter-approved referendum of $1.2 million that occurred on November 5th. If you look across the top of this spreadsheet, what we've done is that we have...
Can you pull that up a little bit?
Yeah, let me start. I just realized that we should really start with the financial model. And go one, oops. All right. This is something that you have seen in multiple work sessions and at the board meeting. As you know, we are ending the last biennium for funding, and that is in blue for the current year. The biggest thing that we're kind of looking at is what will our are we running a deficit or are we running a surplus? Last year, as you know, we lost over $600,000. We started out with a projection of 1.2 million. We were able to make cuts, but only 50%, and it would have been, we would have run through our fund balance, which is on the very bottom at $5.2 million. You have a board policy, and that board policy is very specific. It has 3 components. That board policy, first and foremost, says that we do take a line of credit based on how money comes from Madison and local taxpayers, that it does not come in all at the same time, so there's a cash flow issue. Many districts do this. We take a line of credit. We're proud that we have not had to touch it in multiple years, but one of your criteria is that we have enough fund balance, that we have the cash flow, so that we don't have to borrow, have extra interest that our taxpayers are paying for. Second, we wanted to make sure that we never go below 2 million. And then the other one is that we are able to have 3 to 4 months of expenses. And just to know, at a very 30,000 foot level, we spend about 1.2 million per month on salaries. So if you multiply out by 4 months, that's about 4.8, and then we have other expenses and operations, right? So utilities and things like that. So right now, our target is to be at 5.5 with regards to a fund balance. Let's see if I can get this a little bigger. There we go. And for the way the budget is coming in, we will be able to hit 5.5 million if we come in, and we'll have a surplus of 300,000. We have started, and this is all contingent on, enrollment and the funds that we have. We have 1 more month to pay out. Remember, teachers are paid through August, but it's booked to fiscal year 2025. Based on the work that you have done, starting the next biennium, we have teachers make up over 50% of the staff in our district, and we gave them a 4.5% increase. We are looking at, based on preliminary, all things being equal, we had some good outcomes with regards to healthcare, showing a 2.5% reduction, not an increase, and some other savings that Jim and I, as we kind of continue to partner and pass the baton, we should have a surplus of about $600,000. That won't be the surplus at the end of the year. That will be kind of what happens through August and October when you adopt the final budget. But as you can see, we have planned 4 to 3% increases the rest of the way for 27, fiscal year 28, and then drop it to 3%. Historically, inflation has been about 2.5, so some of these numbers are higher, and that should then allow us to close that gap where our staff have been behind other districts. Note that St. Croix Central, one of our districts that has been in the news and also has a really nice operating levy that actually is stacked and it increased over time. They're projecting a $600,000 deficit for next year. And so it is really important, and I think it's something that we stressed last month through the work sessions and then ultimately in the proposal, is that you have to be conservative to make sure that as budgets are based on the dollars, based on the headwinds that we know, and those are, we have declining enrollment. We did not currently in Madison. They have, Joint Finance Committee has given us 0. Let me repeat that, no additional dollars for public education while they sit on billions of dollars of surplus. Secondly, you know that we have built in $325 per pupil increase. Know that that $325 is not coming from Madison. That was an increase that was given for 400 years. It went to the Supreme Court. It will hold, but that is put on taxpayers, local taxpayers, on top of the operating levy. At this time, I hope that people understand that special education, we had been talking about that we're funded about 30%. They are only funding high needs students that exceed over $31,000 in costs. We have only a few students in the 10 years that I've been here that will provide no relief for the cross subsidies that every single district has to make from Fund 10 to Fund 27. The proposal by the governor, DPI, and the Wisconsin School Board Association and superintendents was to get reimbursed at 60%. They are not making any changes to increase that, and the only increase, it is not sum sufficient, meaning as people draw for special education, that money doesn't go higher. It's not a guaranteed amount, and we have been witness to that. Sandy has seen that we get paid less than we were expecting to receive for special education.
Rick, was there an increase to special ed funding for voucher schools, or did that stay the same?
What schools?
For vouchers?
Voucher schools?
I don't think, well, the bills aren't finalized yet.
I believe they did increase.
I thought so too.
Support for private entities. But yeah, and I want to point out that high cost special ed, that is an after the fact thing. So like right now, I could apply for high cost aid for
last year, yeah,
fiscal year. So it really doesn't benefit us.
Cash is already gone. Yeah. The other thing just to know is that you can't watch TV, you can't listen to a podcast, you can't listen to the radio and not hear that students, adolescents struggle with mental health issues. The Joint Finance Committee at this time has cut over $10 million from mental health subsidies to all public schools. So we talked about getting you through this year and then looking at what the next biennium. This is the worst case scenario. You are getting no additional money. And so what we'll be looking at is that the next biennium covers 25 and 26, 27. I talked a little bit about that there's a potential, of a surplus. Obviously, that'll go away as we start, because you just approved a lot of salary increases that have to go into the system. By fiscal year 2027, that drops to $30,000, and then the second year of the next, or the first year, of the next biennium, we would be losing $500,000. So this money goes quickly because we are people-centered and salary-centered. Our goal, right, is to make sure that we could get you through the second biennium and stay above the $5 million or $5.2 million. By the last year, 2029, you would have $4.7 million. Now, there's a lot of assumptions that go out there, so the further you go out, the more risky our assumptions are. Sorry.
No, great. You said 5.2, but I just wanted to clarify that that's a 5.2 fund balance based on like right now, but as we increase with our salary, it's actually, from our Baird models, it's a 5.9 fund balance that we should be having starting the 27-28 school year will be
correct. It goes up about $100,000 each year. So those are some of the things that'll happen. Obviously, there are cost containment. You worked with a LARA study, not just about wages, but we talked about healthcare and some ways to suppress that. That's the fastest growing and our second largest expense. It is astronomical and exponential for family healthcare. It has increased specifically for individuals, but not at the rapid rate for family. And right now, we're about 50-50. Of people that are eligible taking family. The other piece is that the district office, as you know, we had the same pledge that if there were individuals that left, we would not refill. The district office is reduced to FTEs and likely to have a slight reduction in hours as well. The administrative team also had an individual that decreased in FTE. So through administration and the district office, there are decreases that are occurring both in salary and benefits. So those won't be sufficient, but that's the other conversation and probably biggest conversation that you have is operating for instructional facilities. And we could talk about that but I'll save it for Jim. So, all right, so that's kind of where we are, and now it'll make a little bit more sense as I go back to the 1.2 and cast up here how those dollars were spent, the decisions that were brought to the board and the board was able to make. So fund balance at the end of the fiscal year 2024, we were at $5.2 million. By the end of this year, we needed to be at 5.5. And so we currently, right around after we updated our budget, we had about $964,000 that needed to be spent and allocated. And what we did is each time we had a board meeting, we came back to the 4 priorities. Priority 1 was to make sure that we invested in staff, all staff, and that we were market competitive. The second was to make sure, second priority, and it's on our website, was to make sure that we invested in programs and that we were investing in the resources that our teachers needed. And so you've had proposals both from Tech Ed about expanding the floor print. We are looking at making sure that our early literacy curriculum adoption will have funds, and that'll be somewhat of the proposal coming forward. So what we're looking at is that we're running a surplus that you saw on the Baird model of $300,000. That's intentional. It helps fill what I call the pothole of losing $600,000 last year, and it makes us equal, kind of baseline of where your policy is with regards to where we want to be. Then what we've done is, any questions with regards to just kind of the top and how that is playing out? Okay. Then what we've done is kind of shared on the left-hand side in red. Let me get a little bit bigger. Is that any priority staff compensation, license support. The first one was really a management decision. So it's not counted in the tabulations that'll come forward. That's why it's in black font. But basically, we have some forfeitures that we could have used to pay off the $200,000. Remember, we have a match for all of our licensed staff. We went with the money that's in the current budget. And so we're allocating another $40,000 to that and not using forfeiture, because we see that you'll have tough times in the future and it'd be better to use the forfeitures then. You made a decision last board meeting to assist with 10 staff members that were caught in the PDP process, and you made adjustments of $22,000, and that was allocated for them this year, but also heading into next year. We also made early literacy stipends of $3,000 PLC teachers, and then we made decisions with regards to lead cook and the food service getting an additional $1. We approved for our hourly staff anywhere from 3 to 4.5. You just updated aides, and that came in at 8%, and then 3.25 for our bus drivers. Then we did go ahead last month. We presented PAYS, which is instructional content area. Right now, for some students, when we place them in outsourced placements, it was $30,000. This will be a curriculum that we can use for multiple years, multiple students. Very excited. It should, I think the ship date was supposed to occur.
It's here.
It did get on site?
I think it's on site.
All right.
It's going to be set up in August with the training, and we've got the computer stuff on order.
Fantastic. And then one of the things that will be, after we go through all this, one of the pending questions is that we would like to allocate, I've been working with Michael Kosmowski and Sarah Dusick. Part of Act 20 is to make sure that you have a structured curriculum and reading resource. We have bids that are out there. Right now, the bids are $250,000. To make sure that we don't spend the same dollar twice, we would like to put it in, you know that you have an assignment assigned fund balance category. According to policy and to DPI, they prefer that you do use assigned more often than unassigned, that it doesn't just go in a big pool. So what we're going to be recommending is that we have staff that got trained in June. They'll continue through the implementation of Act 20. We would like to pilot, if everything's on target, if I'm not mistaken, Michael, would be late spring, starting to pilot some of the reading resources, or is it?
In spring, we'd start the process of prioritizing standards.
Okay.
And starting to align those two different ones to pilot, so it'll probably be the following year.
Okay. And so as they look at that, then they would be probably piloting in fall of '26? Yeah, okay. And then at some point, you got to pull the trigger and make sure that you have the resources. We also have some math curriculum resources. This is the conundrum that we have, trying to do all things all at once. COVID kind of disrupted our process, but we have resources in place from grades 4 through high school, and what we're trying to do is make sure that we can kind of backfill some other resources for Malone. That allocation plus we did reinstate C teams. You also added 4.5% to the extracurricular stipends, and that came to $11,000. When you add all that up, the running total is just shy of $400,000 that was specific to educational programs and licensure for the staff. The second request that I'll be making is that we would like to add another $100,000 to Fund 46. Every year forward, it'll be harder for you to put money away. And so you put the money away now, you get your interest. And just to let you know, we just moved our CDs that were at BMO. We now have 100% of all of our money with PMA. They are the ones that are able to invest. They know the vehicles, and they will maximize our returns. With this investment, if you approve it, it would have, PMA would have $1.2 million in your capital trust fund, and allow you to, and Mike, to execute that 10-year plan. What I think Jim will be coming back, I met with Kara and Jim for a couple hours. You don't need 100% of all of your money to be in cash. And right now, 100% is in cash. This might sound odd, but right now the high-yield savings accounts are paying over 4%. CDs are paying about the same. And you go, well, then why would I put money in a CD and lock it up? Every probability chart that PMA is working on is that it's highly likely that the feds will be lowering interest rates. It is highly likely that that high-yield savings account is going to drop, and likely drop to 3 and maybe more. So what they're recommending is, although it looks like a push now, 6 months from now, a year from now, you'll be glad that you locked in. And so they have given us rates for 18 months, 6 months, and then I think it was 3 months. I think it would be wise to have a ladder. I don't think you should lock up more than 50% until you're done with Market & Johnson and all those projects. And we have one project I want to bring to your attention, but that would allow you to probably lock up maybe $250,000 in 18 months. And it goes back to Pat's question. Of all of those projects, when are they likely to come due, and how much money will it be? So then you would have a better metric to say, hey, we can lock up 75% of it. Right now, I would just say, based on what we know, you could probably do short-term CDs, 3 and 6 months. You'll get 4%, and then do one that's 18 months. But then you have 50% of cash if something happens. So Fund 49 is currently, we have fully paid out River Valley Architects. We have no current bills for them. We are closing out with Market & Johnson. What we have done is moved, they call them owner savings, so some of the rebates and things like that. We've closed out the intermediate school. We've closed out Malone. We have projects going on there this summer, and then we also have the bleachers that are coming in. We just made a $33,000 payment to Markin & Johnson. We have another $83,000 that'll go out. And so when all that gets reconciled, we have one mezzanine, or two mezzanines over at the middle school that are still leaking. So we don't know. They engineered it. They stand behind their work. They're coming out, but whether or not there's a cost associated with that, time will tell. The reason I mention that is that we would suggest with facilities and grounds that you use Fund 49, that's operational dollars for capital investments, infrastructure at intermediate, middle school, and Malone. We just learned, remember in 2019 is when we did the facility study. That is, if my math is correct, how many years? 7? We just found out that our rooftop air handler is on the fritz. Right now, the rough estimate is somewhere about $250,000. Mike Hoyka asked Markin & Johnson to at least start to help us build a bid. We'd like to come back with you with a proposal. Basically, if that building is still in our portfolio, it has to be operational to make sure that the...
That's our middle school that has that
It's
issue?
the Elm Street, 125 Elm.
Yeah.
So,
sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Intermediate.
so that is a big ticket, but I can tell you right now is that we likely have the money to pay for it, so we're going to ask, that's a complicated, it would require engineering, architect, and a vendor to come in, and a big crane. So the way that we would look at it is Mike's budget, supplies, we learned you can't really cut supplies because the costs are going up and he needs supplies. Where we can reduce his budget, though, is on mechanical, because we can, for 3 buildings, we can touch infrastructure, Fund 49, and then you can touch Fund 46. And so those things we'll update you next, over the summer through Jim, but that's just how we would start to kind of build next year's budget. The third ask, so right now there's 3 asks. One would be setting aside for early literacy of $250, adding another $100,000 to Fund 46, and then the last ask, this is more about educational programming, that's why it's in red, it was one of the top priorities, is you have heard presentations by 5R Manufacturing to extend their footprint. We do not have all the bids in. We did get another update that we shared with you, but there's still a lot of things, like once you have a structure like that, you have to insure it, right? We have to define what kind of building is it. Is it a year-round building? Is it an unheated pole shed? Is it really just for the sawmill and the kiln? So this one, you could put money into assigned and say, we've invested in you guys, we believe that tech ed is on the right path, but it hasn't checked all the boxes to release it, or you could not spend it. So I just wanted to let you know that that's what we would recommend, is if you want to keep the carrot there for that. If it never materializes, you can always remove it from assigned, but that was kind of what we were talking about. Later, just to kind of share with you, you have a proposal, but I wanted to walk you through, is that the bus radio system for all of our buses, it's kind of like end of service, and so the hardware no longer is able to be kept up. The software for that would cost twice as much to update on things that are no longer beyond life use. So we did get 2 bids. We believe that is about $7,300. This bus radio system, I'll talk a little bit more about it. It can come out of Fund 10. It could also potentially Fund 46. We do have an Excel bill that we're still trying to work on. This is something that we identified right after construction. They took off all of our meters during construction. We were running on generators. When all the generators went offline, We were paying Market & Johnson for the generators. The meters weren't activated by Excel. Once they activated them, the bills came in, but they were for the wrong buildings. We just know that somewhere in the vicinity of about right now it looks like about 65,000 to 100,000 is owed, but we're still trying to work that out. So whether or not it falls in this budget year or next, there is an unpaid. And then for a bus garage expansion, that would fall in fiscal year 26, but it's 10,000. So all in all, what that means is that this on the left-hand side is the residual. Once all of those things are taken, it would leave about a buffer of about $53,000. So really what we're showing is where did the money go? A preponderance of the money went to staff wages and programs. We do have some additional money that we would like to hold for resources, for curriculum, invest in capital, and potentially put into 5R manufacturing, expanding its footprint. Any questions?
It's a mouthful. Anybody want to start here? Pat, do you have questions or comments?
It's probably peanuts, right? But maybe just a couple of observations. I think everything at the top is, we've been talking about it for a long time. No surprises there, no questions there. Just some little things, right? Like the lost Xcel Energy bill, that should have already been budgeted, right? So that should, I would, hopefully that buffer of 52 grand grows a little bit, right? And then, I don't think the word frustration would be appropriate here, but things like the bus garage, radio system and all that, as we continue to talk about the 10-year plan and getting, our capital equipment or, whatever on a one-stop, I don't want to say document because I know there's better systems out there, but and truly we've done a good job managing it, but that's how we're going to avoid some of these surprises. So we continue to get better at it, but just maybe a little frustration on that. But the good news is we're able to cover it. So that's what I got, Mike, for me.
Tanya?
I don't really have any questions. I just want to, this presentation, this document fell right after we just talked about some headwaters that are coming up on our budget and stuff. And I just wanted to call out that as a board, we're very aware that we talked about this at a work session, so that's why we're aware. But the 2027-2028 school year is a school year that we have to have some cost-cutting decisions made by. So they go into place for that year. And so although we're showing this and people that are looking at this and not really aware of some of the other conversations that we've been having, is that we know that we're investing a lot of money here. Some might say, why do that? You can see that in the future. But we're really aware and we have ideas already of what we need to cut. So we've talked about with our declining enrollment, we currently operate with 4 buildings. Do we need those 4 buildings? So that's a conversation. We talked about kitchen. We talked about just all the things that we save money on. So that's a conversation that needs to be decided on prior to that 27-28 school year. The other big one that we've talked about, and the Alara study helped us just really call it to attention, was healthcare. And that's another big, those are some of our top expenditures, and healthcare being one of those. And so we have some ideas and things that we're going to start looking at, some different ways of maybe doing business, at least putting it out there and seeing how we can save money. So we are aware that we're putting this out there. We are aware that we're investing and we're purposeful in that. These are the promises we made to the community. We believe in our staff, our programming, and so we have to do this. And we know that in the next year, we're going to be looking at what we're going to do for some long-term costs to continue with this. So that's all.
Yeah. Vicki?
Yeah, I just reiterate what Tanya said, is we're very aware of where we're currently at and where we're going to be, and we know that we have decisions to be made. This gives us that little bit of buffer, and we purposely made that a point when we asked for this referendum, was give us that little bit of time to plan instead of making a snap decision. So we see that in here, we know that's in the future, so it's just moving forward. We have to start doing some planning.
Helen?
Piggyback.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good takeaway, Rick, is like we're gonna have some school board parties for next year's fiscal year, and I think we just talked about the 4 buildings, right? So we're gonna need some workshops. We're gonna need to figure out what that looks like and how to frame that up and get some proposals kind of ready to be presented to the board sometime in the next fiscal year here with some of the ways to reduce our expenditures, whether it be building consolidation talks or different types of healthcare options, whatever. I think those are the things that we need to be kind of looking for next year as we go. But we do end the year strong. I think this is a huge win for our district to be where we're at. We're financially solid in our fund balance, and we're handing out pretty significant raises, and we're projecting to hand out a decent raise next year for more of the idea to close the gap, which was the point of the whole exercise with Alara and the goal of the referendum that we were able to secure from the community. So it's good news. It's just we have to be diligent, right? I mean, we're not getting money from the state, so here we are again, $0, right? So there's no help.
Yeah, it's great news. We're forecasting a potential issue 4 to 5 years out that we need to start solving today.
Yep, yeah. Exactly, and that's exactly where we that's exactly where we were hoping we would be, and here we are. So it's time for us to continue to keep rolling forward and get to work on how to trim the budget as much as we can without impacting staff. So, and we can do it. So, anything else, Rick?
Not for me.
So, what do we need here? We need a motion here to approve the final budget expenditures. And what does that include everything on this list?
Unless we took something out.
Yeah, so there really are 3 asks that are different. We're asking to put in an additional $100,000 above what was already budgeted. We can do that with an asterisk, and that is that our audit, contributions to Fund 46 are the only expenditures allowed by DPI to occur in July and be booked to fiscal year 2025. So very often, when we're getting the audit, we'll say, we're running a surplus. Do you want it to go into the fund balance, or do you want it to go into Fund 46? So what I would say is we're asking to be able to put up to 100, not more. And if we can't, like if it comes in and we only have 80 or 75, we would make that and then update the board. So that's one ask. The second ask is that we would be putting $250,000 into assigned for curriculum resources. And then whether or not, the third one was whether or not you wanted to include $100,000 in assigned for 5R manufacturing.
Yeah. Does that make sense to everybody? I mean, we're talking about, it's in the fund balance as assigned dollars, and then we can choose if it's something we want to move forward with or not, right?
Yeah. That works. Do we have to call that? Oh, you are. Okay.
But it just protects us from next year having a dip, so now we have the money set aside. All right, any questions or further discussion here? We're looking.
Let's get her name all over it, Tanya.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody want to take a crack at it?
Sure. I move to approve the final budget year expenditures, meeting school board fund balance.
End of year.
End of year threshold per policy, addressing Fund 46 to include up to an additional $100,000 contribution per audit outcome. Fund 49 to address additional infrastructure needs first, and the final 2025-26 budget allocations aligned to board priorities as presented tonight on the school board spreadsheet presentation. That includes $250,000 for curricular resources, K-5 reading and math, and $100,000 assigned to 5R manufacturing.
Sounds great. Anybody second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion second. Any further dialogue here? We good? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Well done. All right. Last item, consider transportation upgrades.
Yes, so.
We sort of did this already.
Yeah, so I kind of put it in there, so I'll just be really brief. We got two bids. We currently work with Roshbach. They tested out these radios on the buses the last month. One of the nice features that is added is that we will get a rebate for the current devices that we have. In turn, we'll end up with we'll end up with 25 radio systems, meaning that every single vehicle, including some of the vans, will be outfitted with this. In addition, it has a GPS system on it, so Heather will be able to know where each bus is at any one time, which, during when we had the tornado warning right at dismissal, and when you have winter events or a breakdown, that is very helpful. In addition, it has this save and send feature. So one of the things when we're driving down to Diamond Bluff, Aaron Marshall is losing connectivity. It will basically keep whatever he stated, and as soon as it hits connectivity, it fires that message to the base station. So there's a first infrastructure. We have to update the antennas and things like that, and that comes to, I think, $7,300 on that. And then there is a monthly fee. It's kind of like a cell service, right? And so that will be basically about just shy of $500, which adds $6,000 annually for operations. So that will be added to fiscal year 2026 as a standing item. So remember I showed that you had $600,000 surplus? Well, here's an ad that we didn't have this, and that will be something that would be featured in the upcoming budget.
Rick, okay, yeah, we got two motions in this one, so anybody have any questions on this one?
No questions. Sounds great.
Want to make a motion?
Do we need a motion, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, do you want a motion to approve this?
Yeah.
The radio system?
Yeah.
Okay.
I move to approve the new radio system for transportation.
I'll second it.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries. And then the garage door expansion.
Okay. One of the things that we're learning is just with how the buses go into the bays. We have 3 bays. 2 of them are super wide. Bay 8, they have, and I don't know what they're called. There's a word for them. I don't know if they're mullions or what, but they're basically making sure that the buses don't hit the side of the garage. We're hitting them. Our buses are wider. That bay is narrower than all the other ones. We have a bid of $1,700 from a local framer, and then and he would do it. And then again, both of these costs would go into fiscal year 2026. The reason I'm asking now is so that we can get on their work docket, because summer is a busy time and we want to get it done before August. The second part of extending that is that we have a new garage door would be wider. That cost is $8,700. We already have a new lift, and we also have those safety eyes. Remember, we learned that we didn't have any safety eyes on any of the garages, and we had it hit a bus and get damaged, and it hit a staff member in the head. So we have a lot of the components. I highly recommend that this is $10,000, obviously goes into Fund 46, into fiscal year 26, and you will have the money. I would highly recommend it. And I have had conversations with the Jim.
questions?
Yeah, just so this isn't a nice to have, we want a wider garage door. We've got one narrow garage bay and we've got wider buses.
Yes.
And if we don't do this, it's going to be problematic.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it has been problematic. If you go out there, you'll see that.
It's not a
we've
nice
ripped
to,
up. Yeah.
it's a we have to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna rip a motion over here.
I move to approve the expansion of the bus garage door bay area for FY 2026 budget.
A second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. We're 8:03 through the
What?
business item.
Before you move to info discussion, Pat, can you reread the motion for letters G and then Tommy? There was just some people in the audience didn't hear you.
Letter G.
People in the audience didn't hear?
Instructional aid A. I just want to make sure that.
Yeah.
This is not an official motion. You just want us to reread it?
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to second.
We already did the
Right,
motion in
Yeah.
a second.
It'll be typed up in the minutes.
I can just reread it if you want. We don't need to do another motion, right?
No.
Okay. I move to approve proposed hourly wage increase based on board decisions of a one-job classification consisting of a $1 added to each cell step 1 through 5. General ed aides who are currently above step 5 will receive a $1.25 raise for the fall of 2025 school year to adjust for the consolidation of a one-tiered instructional assistant job classification.
Right. And
Did
that's,
that-
again, it's gonna be in the minutes. So folks that want it can grab those. Right?
Are all of our gen ed aides above step 5?
No, very few.
All right, we are going on to information in discussion, teaching and learning update. Michael.
You want to?
Kosmowski.
The Michael Kosmowski.
Wow.
All right, okay, I think Rick just got on a new one. I did skip a bunch of the slides in here just for time's sake.
Thank you.
Mike already lost the bet, so take your
One of
time.
the things that we often talk about as a district, this 10-year journey that we've really been on, is getting to our Everest. And our Everest, we used to call it school A through D. We now have landed on it's visible learning. And it's not the John Hattie visible learning. It is where you can see the learning, you can hear the learning, you can feel the learning in the classroom. And what does that look like for both our students and our staff? And we've worked on refining that over the last decade. And now we're at a point where we're starting to take some steps into that experience, both for our teachers and for our administrators and our staff. Rick, if you go to the next one. One of the things the board asked about last year, not quite at this time, a little bit later in the year, you asked about, have we moved the needle? Where are we in this journey? You can see in 2019 when we surveyed our staff, we talk about these different models or these different schools. And we have the school of ability, where either you can learn or you can't learn, right? It's based on your ability, your inherent ability, and your lot in life is cast from the time you're born. Or are you a school of opportunity, where we're going to provide this education? Kids need to take advantage of these opportunities we're giving to them. It's up to them. Are we a personalized school, where we believe all kids can learn? We're going to provide a safe environment for that learning. Or are we finally to that visible learning school where we have guaranteed learning for all, where all means all, from our highest to our lowest, and we're challenging ourselves and our students. And you can see back in 2019, when we asked the question of which school do you currently work at, 85% of our staff said we're at the school of opportunity. We're teaching, it's up to the kids if they want to learn it, and if they want to take advantage of those opportunities that we're giving to them or not. Again, that's where the bulk was. As you can see to 5 years later, 80% of our staff feel like we've moved the cog one level up. We're to that point where we believe all kids can learn, we can provide safe environments for them, we're trying to meet their needs of all kids through a personalized plan.
This is a really great slide and data. Nice job.
It's huge. You can see how thin that slice was, 5% back in 2019, and now it's already to 80%. So good thing is we've never been a school of ability. We've never believed that, we cannot have an impact on students' lives. So that's been our academic model and journey for the last really decade to refine it, and now for the last 5 years to really be digging in and what does that look like. So Rick, if you go to the next slide, one of the things we talk about are some emerging practices. We know Act 20 is one of them, but one of the big ones that we've taken on as a district, and you as a school board have supported us in, and I know our new superintendent, Mr. Reef, has experience with building thinking classrooms and what are thinking tasks, so that alignment works really well. You see the torch being handed over, but again, we talked about a 3-year delivery plan. That's just the delivery, and then the implementation. And we started that journey this year, and like all things, it never goes as planned, and that's why we have this vision for thinking classrooms in Prescott, and what, in an ideal world, what would that look like? One of the things we were able to do this year is, if you go to the next slide, Rick, there's these 14 different practices. These are just the practices that happen to align with Peter Lillenjell and his research of 14 different practices that get kids to think longer and to think deeper. And that's what our focus is how do we get kids to think longer, how do we get them to think deeper? We, through our BTC leadership team, we had 6 areas that we were able to K-12 go out and train our staff on. Visibly random groups, non-curricular tasks, curricular tasks, non-permanent vertical surfaces or whiteboards, defronting your classroom, and then questioning. Keep thinking questions versus stop thinking questions, and how do we respond to them? So we've all had that training. You can see in your slide deck, again, I skipped most of those slides, how our staff sort of felt about those and how they went and where they ranked themselves, where are they on that journey, and on 1 to 4 scale, and on most of them, we're somewhere in that 2 to 3 range. Right, we've started our journey. Most staff are starting to feel comfortable with the vocabulary. They're implementing a little bit in their classrooms. There's a couple photos here of what does that look like. So on this photo here, you can see some math going on. You can see a student with special needs in the top right corner, and what does math look like for him. In the bottom here, this actually is a high school math class, and you can see how they're working cooperatively. Looks like they're doing some stacking with some cups. Again, as a non-curricular task to get them to get ready for a curricular task, and how do we interact and work with each other. Rick, if you go to the next slide, again, some high school kids working together. You can see on the left-hand side, we have some elementary age kids and some fourth graders on the top, and I think it's 3rd graders on the bottom. And again, working at those vertical white surfaces. And that was sort of our big push is some of our teachers said, we don't have the resources. So how do we get those resources? We went after grants. The parent committee has given us grants. And then the school board, and through our budgeting, we've been able to do that. One of the misconceptions is that how do you get kids to think deep is they have to always be at a vertical white space and surface, and that's not true. It needs to pair with what's the activity that you're doing. Here's a deep thinking task that's going on. And Rick, if you go back to this last one, I want you to notice the teacher in this picture. Rick, just go back to this lead, please. Right there, yep. Do you notice the teacher? Where are they located? What are they doing?
Yeah, I'm just watching.
Exactly, they're just watching, right? And what are they watching for? That's the next thing, the important things. What are you watching for? The kids that might be wrong, but are still having deep conversations and arguing their points and talking it through, those are the kids we ignore. Because eventually, they'll realize their error. The kids that we look at are the kids that the group's done. They're standing around, arms crossed. They're not having the conversation. Let's go and talk to those kids and see where they're at, and are they really ready to go on or not. So again, matching the task to the way that we're delivering that for the students. If you keep going, Rick, the next slide then after that summary is sort of like what are PSD teachers saying about BTC? What are they saying after a year of trying to implement, learn about it? Again, we're not at the end. Some of us are just starting this journey, some are a little bit further, but they're talking about student collaboration and communication that they haven't seen before. Risk-taking, we talk about that all the time, and then that ownership that comes with it. They're talking about the tools that they have and the structures that are now in place that allow them, so when they're doing their lesson planning, they plan totally different. We have a number of hours of curriculum writing over the summer that teachers are requesting so they can revamp and look at the way they're having kids think in the classroom, and can some of these structures and tools work for them. Transferring that information and adapting across settings. And finally, and probably the most important at the very bottom there, a joyful and engaging learning environment. That's what our teachers are seeing, that what has changed in your classroom. They're starting to describe, and students are starting to describe the learning experience as joyful and engaging at the same time. Just last slide is sort of wrap up, is that, again, through the school board making this a priority, this being a K-12 and all the principals bringing that on, that every site wanted to be part of this. We didn't want to piecemeal it out. We wanted to move forward. We have our BTC leadership team, and then some expansion, right? So we have some that you can see are returning. We have some new ones there. And in 2 weeks here, they'll be going to the national conference in Seattle. And we have 5 staff members that'll be going there to get some more training from Peter, from his close team that he works with. So it's a great opportunity for us to be able to have this leadership team, again, with more training that then can even develop and design better professional development and bring it back and make it Prescott-esque. So thank you to the school board for doing that. And again, like I talked about, Mr. Reef has experience in this. He's done this in his previous district. So it's going to be nice to just feather and keep this vision going, because that's always some of the fear when you get a new superintendent, is what's going to be their vision, and are you going to just drop things off that maybe are in the works? And this is definitely one of those areas that we'll continue to march forward on.
Awesome. Anybody got any questions or comments for Michael here?
No?
Michael,
That's
great
good, Mike.
presentation.
It's pretty awesome. Who doesn't do this in their job every day?
Yeah.
You know, collaborate with your coworkers and work through problems, so, yeah. Fantastic.
All right, thanks, Michael. We'll move on to the Alera job study.
Yeah, so tonight we really captured, I think, the essence of how helpful it was to have an external objective view, to have data to make sure that we were making decisions that were data-driven, that we had evidence for it. Obviously, there's some ongoing steps that we promised, so we just wanted to kind of remind you of that, is that it is a journey. We first wanted to make sure that we established consistent and competitive wages. We were able to give a 4% raise in general over this year, and then now differentiated anywhere from 3 to 4.5%. We've established that structure this year. The goal is to have it continue and beyond. We have an annual increase, and then for teachers, and then a closing the gap increase. The goal is to continue to monitor the impact, just like we do as educators. We want to make sure that we're effective in the classroom. We're going to monitor against those identified benchmarks. We have a SMART goal of when that can be achieved, and we'll know when we have achieved it. HR will be taking on a big process with regards to addressing any anomalies. We have made decisions by the board to address some of those already with regards to the PDP and updating the extracurricular. And I think that we're on our way. We also have updated and asked staff to continue to give us paperwork and update with years of experience. The goal is to have kind of a refreshed or revised handbook. We know that the handbook, there's some low-hanging fruit to kind of update that, but then a longer, probably 3 phases as we continue to be able to kind of refine that. There is the opportunity for HR to do, we discussed to have a survey specifically around benefits and to identify what are the benefits, that gap between what we currently provide, which is about 45% of their total compensation, and to be able to say, do you value it as much as we think you might? And then if they don't, there's steps of making sure they're informed, they're educated, and then to come back, if they're informed and educated and still don't value it, let's repurpose and put those dollars elsewhere. The goal for that is to have that kind of done as teachers come back in August and our staff is ready, so that you can have those discussions in alignment for the following year. And then to be proactive, we had started to identify where are the biggest challenges for staffing. Right now, we have 2 positions open for transportation. We have a position open for a lead cook in food service, and we also have a position open for our custodians. We just posted on our website some of our teaching positions. It's one of the first steps that we did make is that all the job descriptions and some of the nice factoids about Prescott are updated on it's a little bit more, let's just say, aesthetically pleasing for somebody trying to come out there. And then we also identified hard-to-fill positions, and any special education licensed staff has been difficult, secondary math and science, tech ed, and then we, in red, I think we never finished, well, we started the conversation, it's not finished, and so whether or not some consideration of specific licensure would be included. But overall, I think the state of the district is well with regards to starting the journey. You have identified the middle border and River Falls as your metric, and that was helpful for us as well as we finalized the bus drivers and our instructional assistants tonight. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, any questions, comments here, Tanya?
No, not at all. I mean, I think it's great to have it. Rick, this is your last board meeting with us, so there's been a few just kind of roadmaps for us, and this is one of those. Thank you.
Pat?
No comments.
Vicki?
No comments?
Helen? Nope. Rick, you've left us in a really solid spot, and I think that just is a testament to who you are, and you just never quit until you feel like you've done what you came out set to do. So, again, thank you. Item C is the quorum possibility for Thursday, the 26th.
Got a party.
Just, there may be more than two of you, and so we have published that.
All right, is that it?
That is it.
No further discussion on that. I'm pretty sure we'll have a quorum there, but I'm going to move us on to item 12, recognition of visitors. Anybody care to approach the podium and be recognized at this time? All right.
You don't have to read the rules.
Thank you, and unfortunately, the board will consider a motion to convene.
Did Rick wanted a minute?
Dang it, yes, I'm sorry, Rick. Go ahead, yes, Rick had a few last words here.
So, obviously, I was fully surprised by the opening remarks, Tanya, that you had on behalf of the school board, and very appreciative. And this is, as I shared at the end of the school year, it's the last bell of one's career. I forgot to bring the bell so I could ring it one more time. But in our famous historian within Prescott, Dallas Eggers always tells or coaches us to continue to do good things for our students and our community. And I think that your selection of Jim Reef, the time that we've shared, and the work ethic that he has, and his listening and learning so far has been, it's a privilege to watch, and I'm very happy for the staff. And I guess I would just say it's been an honor and a privilege to share your children, the programs, and to grow Prescott to where it is. I look forward to continue to see it improve, and because our goal has always been to be the best at getting better. And I could not have done it alone. I appreciate the board and the staff, and I'll end with Edward R. Morrow's good night and good luck.
Miss Reedy, we got a bell, yeah?
Oh, there's a bell.
Well done.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks.
All right. We did go through the recognition of visitors. So now we can, again, the board is going to consider a motion to convene in a closed session under exemptions 1985-1C. So Rick's not done yet. Consider employment, promotion, compensation, evaluation data. Right?
Yep, and there are employees 1 through 6.
Yeah, so we have employees, it's okay if I say that, employees 1 through 6?
Yep.
Okay. So we need to consider a motion here. Anybody want to make a motion? And then we'll roll call. When we go into closed session, we'll roll call.
Let's see what time we have.
I move to convene in closed session in room A, 117, Prescott High School, at, what are we gonna do, 8:30?
Say under the statute too, Pat. Exemption.
Yep, under exemptions 19.85 1C, in room A, 117, at 8:30 PM.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will reconvene in the closed session. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around.
Thank you.